So, tonight is kind of a special night for me. Paul Metsa and I have known each other, we figured, for 28, almost 30 years. And it's really a pleasure to invite him to Silver Bay. Paul is a very accomplished musician, songwriter, author, radio and TV host, Iron Ranger, but he's from Virginia. not Hibbing, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Paul is a really neat guy. He's won 7 Minnesota musician awards. I mean, Paul is an accomplished Minnesota musician. Give a round of applause for Paul. The guy just keeps on going. He's the ever ready or whatever the battery, more than 5,000 gigs. I mean, that's a lot of plucking, my friend. And he's now living in West Duluth, having spent the last year living in the Gold Find / Zimmerman duplex in Duluth. And I'm going to go on a little long tonight on the intro, if you guys are okay with this, just because, and he's living with his dog, Blue, in West Duluth, and always remembering Blackie, for sure, always remembering Blackie. Paul and I have been around. I was between jobs at one time, and Paul was playing Nyes, and I spent a lot of nights, Marilyn, at Nyes. Really? But we had fun, right, Paul? It was great. But Paul was the fellow who introduced me to this really wonderful cat, a guy named Larry Keegan, whom actually Gino LaFawn knew very well. And, Paul and I guess we met Larry, and you brought him to an Iron Ranger fundraiser, a DFL fundraiser. Remember that night? And we brought him up on stage, and he performed. And I know Gino and Dick were there because they brought him in, as I recall. Quadriplegic, good friend of Bob Zimmerman's or Bob Dylan's, and Gino can tell us many more stories about that because he was intimately involved. But it was through Paul that I met Larry, and Larry became a lifelong friend. And he was a wonderful man. Remember, we got him to the Jesse Ventura gig. He played at the Target Center, I think it was, for Jesse Ventura. So Paul and I helped lug stuff around for him at that time. The Minnesota Law and Politics calls Paul a folk singer, a guitarist, a social activist, a Finn, and that's a good thing. And a storyteller, a philosopher, a conspiracy theorist, and larger-than-life performer. He's played with a number of people over the years, including Bruce Springsteen, among others. And Paul can tell the boss, whom we're going to see in February in Tulsa. Anyway, maybe I'll stop here, but... But, the author side of Paul is very interesting. He's published this. No, I won't put it. But if you get a chance, try to find Blue Guitar Highway, which is a wonderful story of Paul's life over the years. University of Minnesota Press, as I recall, publication on Paul, by Paul. And it's in the Silver Bay Library. And I think that if things work out tonight, the Two Harbors Library will end up with a signed copy of that book. He's got a new book coming out, which he may recite from tonight a little bit, Alphabet Jazz. We should look for that next month. It's going to be released. That's going to be a really cool book. And I think there's a third one in the works. Yeah, I'll let you tell folks about that. Anyway, it gives me great pleasure. The other thing is that we've got, with Paul tonight, Sonny Terry. No, not Sonny Terry. Anyway, Sonny Earl is with Paul tonight, and he's known as the best harmonica player and harpist in Iceland, I've heard today. Right, Paul? So, among other things. So it gives me great pleasure, after my long-winded BS here, to introduce Paul Metsa and Sonny Earl. Welcome to Silver Bay, you guys.
After that introduction, I think I'm going to change my name, stage name, from Sonny Earl to Sonny the Afterthought Earl. Listen, he won't. Well, all right. First, the shirt, the fabulous shirt, is compliments of Paul Metsa.
Yes.
He bought me this shirt. Where did you get the shirt?
I bought
from?
it from when I was moving out of Northeast Minneapolis before I moved to Duluth. There was a guy that had a garage sale, and if you've ever seen my garage, my attic, my basement, you'll know I'm a big garage sale guy. My garage sale truck just goes right there. And so I bought about 12 shirts from this guy, and I said, by the way, why do you have all these groovy shirts? And he goes, I'm from Venezuela, and I'm a flamenco dancer. So if Sonny breaks out in a little bit of this tonight, you know the shirt's working its mojo. Let's hear it again for my buddy John Saristo.
Yeah.
All right. I am going to be reading, for the first time in public, a couple of pieces from my book, Alphabet Jazz, Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Songs. It's kind of my COVID project. And I'm honored to say the book, Blue Guitar Highway, that was published by the University of Minnesota Press, which was a unique coincidence because in 1977, I had been studying classical guitar with a guy in Duluth named Robert Wander, who was actually the father, if you've ever heard of the great rapper-writer Dessa. I found out when she was doing a show at Orchestra Hall, she introduced her dad, Robert Wander, and I go, that was my classical guitar teacher. Well, I studied for a couple of years with him, and I went down to the University of Minnesota to try to get into the music program more to try to please my parents than anything. And I passed my playing exam with flying colors. But my theory exam, I remember the very first question. It was, what is a Neapolitan chord? And I go, I'm screwed. Because I spent 2 years at Mesabi State Junior College. You're all old enough to remember what a junior college is. I refer to it as high school with ashtrays. So anyway, I got a letter back from the U of M that I wish I would have kept. It said, you know, these back then they used to written on a typewriter, right? It wasn't a computer. Carbon. With carbons, yes, and whiteout. Let's not forget whiteout. And it said, upon reviewing your test results, and capitalized, we highly recommend you find another field of study. So it was with great pleasure in 2011, I got a call from that same university, the University of Minnesota Press. It goes, we'd love to have you write an autobiography about your 30 years in the music business. Now, if I had that letter, it would have been on the first page of that freaking book. But anyway, I got a lot of great reviews, if I can brag a little bit from. But my favorite was from Kirkus Review that said, Metsa is as likable a narrator as ever graced the bar stool. Yes, although I'm glad my mother had passed, so she didn't have to read that. But and Charles Bukowski. All right. How many people were at the show last night? God, we better do a new set list. I feel like a little blues. And before we get started, I think let's do Low Down Woman. All right. This might be a little counterintuitive to dedicate this song to two wonderful women that have been our hosts, the great Marilyn French And Miss Lisa right here. She couldn't have been nicer. So we're going to do a little blues number for you ladies. What's it called, Sonny?
I don't know how you're going to segue into this. The song's called Low Down Woman. Thank you. Low down woman, low down girl of mine. Low down woman, low down girl of mine. She got a bottle in her hand and many things on her mind. Low down woman won't cook me nothing to eat. All she wanna do is walk the street. She got red like a devil, moving like a snake. Nothing can stop her. Well, she's on the make, and she's a low down woman. Low down all the time. Sometimes I sit and wonder, why do I keep that low down girl of mine? Yeah, she's a wine-headed woman. She stayed on all the time. Falls I can turn a gal. She ain't worth a dime now. She's a money-grabbing woman. When I'm broke, she treats me mean. When I got my paycheck, she's the sweetest thing I'd ever seen. Low down woman, low down all the time. Sometimes I wonder, why do I keep that low down girl of mine? Yeah, she's a wine-headed woman. She stayed drunk all the time. Falls I can serve a gal. She ain't worth a dime, 'cause she's a money-grabbing woman. When I'm broke, she treats me mean. When I got my paycheck, she's the sweetest thing I'd ever seen. She's a low-down woman now. Low down all the time. Sometimes I sit and wonder, why do I keep that low down girl of mine?
you very much.
Good night, everybody.
All right, good. All right, we're going to take a little break. Be right back.
God, that was great.
I thought you heard that all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marilyn. So much. She called me on it.
I called you. Come on, Sonny. Bob. Okay, talk about your belt.
Well, the belt is something I saw. I was at Famous Games and some guy had one. I said, "Where'd you get your belt?" And he said, "I got a belt guy, a leather guy." So I called the guy up and I said, "I want a belt." And then he had to pick out how many holes and what color are the rivets and how many rivets. And so I really didn't know what I was doing, but it came in the mail. And I was pretty proud. I put my new harmonicas in there, a new belt, and I had a 9-year-old daughter at the time. I came downstairs. "What do you think of my new belt?" I said, "Can I have change for $1, Dad?"
Now, let me throw in a little bit. I told a story last night how when Sonny and I started playing together in '97, little Izzy was only about 8 months old, and she'd come down on the gig. She'd just look goo goo and gaga in this little blanket that Sonny's wife Lisa was holding her in. And so over the years, when people go, "How long have you guys been playing?" I'd always go, "How old is Izzy?" And he'd always ask his wife because he didn't know. Well, we are proud to announce we just FaceTimed her today, and she, what was it?
18 miles, 8,000 feet up, or 4,000 up and 4,000 down. She went
4 hours, a little over 4 hours.
She went from Telluride over the mountain to Ouray, Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
She,
In just over 4 hours.
yeah.
My God.
Yeah,
that's
she called and
amazing.
told us about it. I said, "Izzy, that's phenomenal. I have to go take a nap now."
And how old is Izzy now?
25.
My wife's not. I'll tell her. I'll text my wife.
So you guys have been playing together 25 years.
Yeah.
It's your silver jubilee.
Well, it's, I guess, the start of the Silver Jubilee Tour. So thanks for having us. I lived out in Rego Park in New York City, which is in Queens, right off Queens Boulevard. And all of us were all kind of about the same age here, and we all remember the horrific story of Kitty Genovese, who was beaten to death in Kew Gardens, which is just, there's Rego Park, if you're on the subway, Forest Hills, and then Kew Gardens. And so I grew up right around the corner, or when I lived there, right around the corner. I never had the want or the courage to go and see where that happened. Something that's always stuck with me. And then about a little over 15 years ago, there was a woman named Karen Strufert from Grand Rapids, who just came home from college, and she was home for about a week and was murdered on her way home from work. And it turns out she was a niece of a very good friend of mine that I met in Austin, Texas. So I put this song together, and I really believe in it. I was raised by a strong mother and a strong grandma, and I've been saying for years, women rule the freaking world.
Yeah.
And so before I, like the new motto, put it on your bumper sticker, row, row, row your boat. This is called Walking in a Woman's World. Genovese was walking home one night. Stranger on Queens Boulevard asked her for a light. She said no, and he knocked her down while 38 looked on. Now those 38 still hear her cries since Kitty has passed on. She ain't safe in a straight line. She ain't safe in a round. She ain't safe on an airplane. She ain't safe on the ground. Because my grandma was once just a girl. Well, I won't stop running and I'm walking in a woman's world. Karen came home from college, stories of where she's been. In this town 10 years ago, she was a homecoming queen. We won't hear those stories now or meet her boyfriend Dave. It was a short walk from the coffee shop to a shallow grave. She ain't safe in a straight line. She ain't safe and around. She ain't safe on an airplane. She ain't safe on the ground. Because my grandma was once just a girl. Well, I won't stop running till I'm walking in a woman's world. Little girls on the playground, she dreams of growing up. Let her be a fireman, a princess or a cop. Let her be what she wants to be. Let her not pretend. Let her be a king or queen or the next president. She ain't safe in a straight line. She ain't safe in a round. She ain't safe on an airplane. She ain't safe on the ground. Because my grandma was once just a girl. Well, I won't stop running till I'm walking in. I won't stop running till I'm walking in. Sing it now. I won't stop running till I'm walking. I won't stop running till I'm walking. I won't stop running till I'm walking in a woman's world. Thank you. What's that?
Good job, man. Great song, great song.
Row, row, row your boat. We're going to kick their asses in November. What would you like to say?
Well, can you also talk about your guitar strap, which is like conchos? It's a
My my guitar strap?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, I can, because I'm a big believer. If you play a guitar that you've got to spend some money for, in this case, I got a deal on it, but it was almost $1,000. You got to have a nice guitar strap.
Yeah.
So I bought this one down at, there's a place in Austin, Texas called the Heart of Texas Music. And the guy that runs it is lovingly known as Smiling Ray Hennig. Everybody calls him Smiling Ray. He's, that's where, if you're familiar with Stevie Ray Vaughan's
Yes,
brown sunburst Stratocaster,
you betcha.
Smiling Ray sold that to him and let him pay $20 a week till he had it paid off in a couple months. That's how cool Smiling Ray was. So I'm down there in about 1988 for South by Southwest. And I was stopped in because I was, if you're going to get cowboy boots, get them in Austin. If you're going to get guitar straps, get them in Austin. So I was sitting there and I was playing a Takamine guitar, which I don't have tonight. And I'd seen everybody playing Springsteen and Garth Brooks, and they had one. I'd never played one, so I plugged it in. I was sitting on an amplifier playing it. And a young couple came in and they wanted to buy a starter guitar for little Johnny. And I'm guessing Johnny's 12 or 13 years old. And so they're going to buy one of these Squire Fender Stratocasters, which go for about $130. They're actually pretty good guitars. And so they're just getting ready to, they got one more question. And so Ray's right there, and Mom goes, Ray, can Johnny grow with this guitar? Pregnant pause. He goes, ma'am, Johnny could play Carnegie Hall with this guitar. Sold!
Is that what sold you the strap?
Yeah, that's how I got the strap from. And then I was giving guitar lessons years ago. And this guy lived in Austin. He opened his guitar case and he had a invoice sales slip from Smiling Ray signed by him. He had bought the case for his guitar there, and I said, I'll trade you that invoice for 2 guitar lessons. I still got it up in my, somewhere in my office. What did you decide?
My favorite, don't think twice.
Oh, let's do that, don't think twice. I imagine there's a few Bob Dylan fans here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
a couple.
No. Maryland's had it with Bob Dylan. Maryland's Bob Dylan out.
You know, I was when, it was true when I moved up to Duluth. It's a little longer story, but what happened was I ended up renting the first floor of Bob Dylan's childhood home from July 3rd last summer until May 31st. Part of my renter's duties was to man the guest book. So there was about 70 different parties, 5 different countries. You name a city in America, and they were there taking pictures. They were all really sweet. And so if I was on the front porch having coffee in the morning, or after 5 having something a little stronger while the sun was still come up, they'd ask if they could take a picture. I said, absolutely, and then I'd have them sign, date, the guest book, and say where they were from. And then if I had a few of my CDs sitting around, I'd gift them with the CD, and I called Sonny, I said, it's amazing. I said, what I'm doing now, it's like the Jehovah's Witnesses in reverse.
Oh my gosh, you did.
It's beautiful subliminal marketing.
You told me not to tell anybody you were there, and I didn't tell anybody.
It wasn't so much, it's just I don't want people to know where my guitars are.
And now we know they're in someplace by the.
Somewhere west of Masaba Avenue, Duluth, Minnesota.
There you go.
I didn't want to get too specific.
And if you find me there, I'll give you a CD. We are in, E. You should have told me. E, the key of the people, as opposed to the key of the bourgeoisie, right?
What's the key of the bourgeoisie?
Be satisfied. And they are. For the next 60 days, anyway.
Ain't no use in wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. Ain't no use in wonder why, babe, never do somehow. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason that I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. Ain't no use turning off your light, babe, light I never know. Ain't no use turning out your light, babe, I'm on the dark side of the road. I'm not saying you treated me unkind, could have done better, but I don't mind. You just wasted my precious time. Don't think twice, it's alright. Can do one more, Paul? Ain't no use calling out my name like you never done before. Ain't no use calling out my name. I can't hear no more. I'm thinking and I'm wondering, walking down the road. Once I love her, child, I'm told, gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. Don't think twice, it's alright. Don't think twice. Don't think twice, it's alright.
yabba dabba doo. You know what's funny? You know how old your audience is when everybody applauds to that. So, hey, Nelson, where's my new book? Where is it?
Okay, I'm right over here.
Maybe you guys, maybe not be.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, you
yeah, I'd
guys,
like
that
to
was
see it.
awesome.
Thank you. That was fun.
Would you hold this for a minute?
We're so excited about this new book, Paul.
Thank you. Well, it's like I said, it's alphabet jazz, poetry, prose, stories, and songs. When I was moving out of Minneapolis, I'll just read the foreword and tell you what it's all about. All right, here is the preface. I love gigs where dogs just walk around freely. I'm a big dog guy, so. Oh, I know. I've been there all day.
Yeah, you are in the right place.
Lisa bitched at me a little bit today when I was feeding him under the table, but when she caught me, that's the only time she did catch me doing that. All right, here's the preface. Alphabet Jazz is a collection of poetry, prose, stories, and songs I wrote between 1984 and 2022. It came together in 2020 as I was preparing to move out of Minneapolis, my home since 1978. The anthology is a personal diary of sorts, midnight blasts of inspiration, love letters and poem, personal tributes, true stories, letters to editors and friends, and songs that I've written along the way and still perform. My two talented rescue dogs, Blackie, R.I.P., and Blue, each contribute a piece as well. Overall, it is also my Valentine to the city of Minneapolis, where over the course of 40 years, I found inspiration and friendship in every corner of town. Yeah. So, seeing as how we got a guy from Hibbing here, I've got a couple of pieces on Dylan in here. Now, this is the first time I read stuff. It looks like I'm a little discombobulated. It's just a matter of.
It's pretty special to hear from this.
Oh, yeah, I grew up in the 1970s, and my memory is sharp as a tack.
But very short.
Yes. Yes, all right. All right, here we go. I'm going to take a little sip of my beverage. Water? It's water, yes, it's water.
Wait, where's the red wine I got for you?
Well, that was gone in a minute. I'm from the freaking Iron Range, baby. All right, this is, when I was a kid, like 13 and 14, I used to hitchhike over to Hibbing because I grew up in Virginia. It's 22 miles east of there. Because I'd been hearing about this guy, Bobby Dylan. And there's still people in Hibbing, right, that still call him Dylan. And so I'd hitchhike over there and I'd look at the front door of the house. Was it 2425?
425, you got it.
Yeah, 7th Avenue. The young man that walked out of that door went out and made a real mark in the world. And so he's always been a touchstone to me. I don't bow down. I don't worship him. Of course, I love his music. But he's always been a touchstone to me that you can get there from here. Now I'm 40 years later. I'm in Silver Bay, which is about 2 hours from Virginia, so I did okay. I made it 40 miles. All right, so this is called, Nels, you'll like this, I think. This is called Bob Dylan, Highway 53 Revisited.
There you go. I'm there.
Well, that's a picture of Blue. Okay, that's Here we go. All right. Bob Dylan, Highway 53 Revisited. You can walk into an unarranged bar on the weekend and see any of the 5 character types imbued in Bob Dylan's persona. The greaser dressed in black leather jacket, white t-shirt with a pack of Lucky Strikes rolled up in his shirt sleeve, dark sunglasses, leather belt buckle on the side, and engineer boots. The hard-working miner, fresh off his second shift, enjoying a cold one before going home to the wife and kids. The asshole protesting that his drink is not strong enough and costs too much. The trickster doing card tricks at the end of the bar and gambling with loaded dice. Or perhaps the weirdo in the back booth drinking cheap brandy straight up and reading James Joyce. Dylan, then Bobby Zimmerman, was an amalgam of all these 5 characters when he moved from Hibbing to Minneapolis. There he hung out with the beatniks who hipped him to Jack Kerouac, Woody Guthrie, Allen Ginsberg, marijuana, and more. There he expanded his intellectual curiosity that was first imbued in him by B.J. Ralston, his brilliant high school English and humanities teacher, who impressed on him the power of language. Add the introduction and influence of like-minded folk musicians of his age that were exploring and performing the acoustic folk and blues that became lifelong touchstones. By January of 1961, he was well prepared to hitchhike to New York City with his seated saddlebag of influences and would soon become Bob Dylan. And who, besides an Iron Ranger, hitchhikes to New York City in the middle of the winter with a guitar? I was born in the town of Virginia, Minnesota in 1955, 20 miles east of Hibbing. In my early teens, I'd sometimes hitchhike to Hibbing, stand in front of that door at 2425 7th Avenue, and envision the man that walked out of that door whose songs influenced American culture and beyond. His shadow influence on me played no small part in me eventually becoming a professional musician. I've seen Dylan live in concert close to 36 times. I've enjoyed moments of complete transcendence at many of those shows. There have been shows when I spent most of my time in the beer garden wondering if he was singing in German. Even at those less than stellar ramshackle affairs, I was amazed he was getting away with it, and the perversity of them was kind of its own thrill. I played enough of my own shows over the years to know everybody has an off night or two, and it's always darkest right before the dawn. As America's greatest living songwriter with over 600 original songs and thousands of performances behind him, he is both of us and beyond us. I witnessed 2 Dylan shows at the end of 2019, Mankato, Minnesota, 1024, Beacon Theater, New York City, 12-1. At nearly 80, he was on top of his game and at the peak of his artistic powers, with the ferocity and enthusiasm of a teenager coupled with the power of a wise old sage. He's an alchemist of the highest order and remains a monumentally creative artist, painting his latest masterpiece in real time. Drawing on a catalog of songs spanning nearly 60 years, many of which are constantly being rearranged, he plays those songs like a cat plays with a mouse, teasing them out with a magician's touch. His phrasing rivals Sinatra, and his humor and sense of history hover above them all. He leads America's greatest working rock band like Bob Wills with a velvet bullwhip. He plays harmonica like Little Walter with a trunk full of cash in his Cadillac. He could also blow in a soft and sweet staccato and would have seduced Juliet down from the balcony. He played both shows standing at an upright piano, conjuring images of him breaking into the Moose Club on Howard Street in Hibbing to serenade Echo Hellstrom, his girl from the North Country, while the brink of midnight blessed them both by keeping both the cops and moon at bay. The Klieg Lights of 2019 illuminated the sparkle curtains behind him, silhouetting him in shadow, coupled with various sound effects on his vocals, and his band backing him with impressionistic waves of sound was pure magic. Laurence Olivier meets little Richard on a tightrope with Billy the Kid holding a net beneath them. Art in both the smallest and largest of moments, the American spirit at its core. He is both a man and a concept that has evolved over dozens of reincarnations, withstanding waves of criticism from all corners and remains unbowed. There is a lesson in that, steel forged from iron ore. At the end of the day, and in particular after these shows, it was easy to realize that Dylan and his band could kickstart any VFW or any juke joint dance floor anywhere at midnight in America, as he proffers and transmits the ghosts of all that made this country beautiful and, more importantly, mystical. And he's probably fine with just that. With his guitar as his lunch pail, off to work he goes, like any ordinary Joe, for over 60 years. We are lucky to share this time on earth. And lest we forget, he still has the best hair in the business. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so the book. Huh? What? You what? Thank you very much. And that's why you get the VIP seat right there. All right, we're going to do a few more and then take a little break and come back for one more set. Now let's put that back to from wherever the hell it came from.
And thank you for doing that.
Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Special for us all.
Well, that's the first time it's ever been read out loud, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, like Nelson said, I've done 5,000 gigs. Whoops. What's that?
That was Jerry.
What the hell's that? Am I having a flashback? Or?
We all just had a common straw.
So what were you saying, Paul?
Well, what I was saying was, you know, I chose this path in life. My dad, God bless him, he was grew up an only child above a bar that his dad ran, the Roosevelt Bar in Virginia, Minnesota, named after President Roosevelt, and grew up by himself, born on a farm in Angora, Minnesota, then moved in a town, grew up above a bar, and had a lonely childhood, but ended up serving on the school board 3 times, the city council twice, and 2 terms as mayor. And my dad always used to tell me, music, it's a great avocation, but not a really great vocation. And truthfully, he was right. But I've done it, and I've been able to lead a bit of an artistic life, and I'm really happy with this book. I put out 12 records, some which I have for sale tonight. I'm happy to announce I did my first record in '84, an album, then I've done singles and CDs and this and that, and now you can stream it anywhere. But since '84, almost 40 years, combined sales with streaming and sales of vinyl and everything, I'm happy to announce that all the records have now gone linoleum. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we'll keep the Dylan theme happening, and then we'll take a little break. Let's hear it for David and Lisa for being such great hosts. I mean, they built this whole thing by themselves. And I go, yeah, those are beautiful logs. Where'd you buy them? I go, no, we bought the logs, and then we stripped everyone by hand. I go, how did you put them way up there? They're scaffold.
They hauled them up the hill.
Yeah, and then so I'm asking David, I go, are you freaking kidding me, dude?
Paul, did Lisa tell you about the stones in the fireplace?
No, tell us about that.
Well, I think Lisa should.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, so
One summer.
David did the woodwork, Lisa did the stone work. Lisa built this stone
And
fire.
this is a 3-story. It starts in the basement, and she carried every stone up a scaffolding. And I saw her put the top one on. I have a picture.
So isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I knew she was a stoner.
And what?
My goal was to do it before I turned 60. I made it by a week.
Wow. So it just got done.
It got done. Actually, I'm only 48
But
and holding.
you know what's amazing? And I'm sure you've never gotten one argument during this whole process. That is so bullshit, Lisa. Well, thanks for having us. We're having a ball. So we do one more. Keep it up with the Bob Dylan thing.
Before we play, I got to give another shout out to our sound man back here. Last night I said to him, "Hey," I said, "Can you make me be a good singer like you did last night?" He said, "Yeah, I got you, brother. Thank you. Sounds fantastic, man."
And plus, he made you look a little thinner, too.
And to the lighting, man. Thank you.
You know what? Who I'm going to dedicate this to? You were talking about Larry Keegan. Earlier, you should Google that guy. Gino LaFond played with him for years. He was Gino's right hand. Gino was Larry's right hand man, and I wish I got to learn the song you guys used to do that Larry wrote called "Some Get the Cherry." You probably wrote it together.
Let's do it later on, Paul.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll do that later on for sure. But Larry passed in heaven tomorrow on 9/11. So how many? That was 21 years ago. Yeah. So this goes out to Larry Keegan. You know, I'll tell you what, it's tough being an aging rocker and get to use your reading glasses on stage. It's like
Oh yeah.
so freaking uncool. Yeah.
Those actually look pretty good on you, Paul. Early one morning, the sun was shining. I was laying in bed, wondering if she'd change it all, and her hair was still red. Her folks said I had together, sure's gonna be rough. Never did like my arms on me dress, but the band wasn't big enough. I stand on the side of the road, rain running on my shoes, heading out to the East Coast, Lord knows like they I do, getting through. Tangled up in blue. She was married when we first met, soon to be divorced. Held her out of a jam of gas, but he knew a little too much for her. Drove that car as far as we could, we banded it out west. Set out on the side of the road with the green in his bass. She turned around, she looked at me as I was walking away. I heard her say, "The whole shot I'll meet again someday on the avenue." Tangled up in blue. I had a job in the great Northwest. I was looking up to be employed. Working for a while on a fishing boat just outside of Jellicroy. Drove that car all the way down till I could no more. Had a job on a fishing boat just outside of Jellicroy. All the while the world along my path was close behind. I seen a lot of women, but she never left my mind. It just grew. Tale of the blue. She was working at a topless place, and I stopped in for a beer. Just got looking at the side of my face, and the spotlight so clear. Later on, when the cloud went out, I was just about to do the same. She was standing down back my chest, and that's when I know your name. I muttered something underneath my breath, and she stared at the line of my face. I must have been out there a little uneasy when she stepped down the tie the laces on my shoe. Tale of the blue. Little bit on the stove when she offered him a pipe. Paul Metsa. Looked like the sign time. Opened up a book of poems and she handed it to me. Written by an Italian poet in the 14th century. Every one of those words would do it burn like glowing coal. Pouring out every page I could, but then a soul from me to you. A tale of the blue. Live with them on Montague Street in the basement down the stairs. There's music in there, there's a night and living in the air. Then he started dealing in sleds and something inside of her died. She had said everything she owned and froze up inside. When the bottom finally fell out, he became destroyed. She had to do everything she knew and he flew it away alone and it just grew. Tale of the blue.
Play it sweetly now.
Now I'm going back again. I got to get the hustle about all the people I used to know, illusion of me now. Some are mathematicians, some are politics wise. I don't know how to get started. I don't know what they'll do with their lives. Just me, I'm sitting on the road, down another joy. It all needs to say we just start with another point of view. Tale of the blue. Tale of the blue. Tale of the blue. Tale of the blue.
I'm Paul Metsa, that's Sonny Earl. Take a little break. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.